Good morning, West Ham fans. It's Thursday. We are getting through the week, my friends. And just to keep that good feeling, that good vibe going, it's Thursday. So it's the Russy Rumour roundup. Let's go and talk about some lovely rumours, shall we? So, anyone new to what we do during the transfer windows, we digest, we go through all the rumours, all the ITK news, all that type of stuff, and condense it down for you guys so you don't have to go through it. And then we give you our thoughts and we apply the Russy Rumour rating, the original rumour rating, my friends. We've got a lot to get through. A lot of strikers, particularly, pretty much everyone apart from one defender and one sort of attacking sort of winger. The rest are strikers. As we know, that seems to be a key position we need to fill this transfer window. Now, I'm not saying, I used to put a graphic up. I might get the graphic going again. I'm not saying we are signing every one of these players. All right? Pardon me. I think we're on about 45 players we've been linked to already. So I'm not saying we are doing, well, that's almost 2 Premier League squads just of strikers, but some of them are quite interesting. And what we do is we give you our views, give you our opinions, and as I said, apply the Russy Rumour rating. So let's crack on. As I said, we're going to talk about a lot of strikers and quite a few from the Bundesliga, particularly. We've spoken about the likes of Evan Gisand from Nice and various others from Ligue 1, Jonathan David. These are sort of the new sort of rumours and the new names. One who's come on the radar is the Borussia Mönchengladbach 29-year-old German, 6'4" forward bastard that is Tim Kleindienst. Kleindienst? Yeah, seems about right. Apparently, he's one on a growing list of players we've been linked to. He's 6'4". He's a big lad. He's got 1 in 3, roughly, or just over 1 in 3 in terms of goals to game ratio. He is on the the wrong side of his 20s, and is sort of having an okay season with Borussia Mönchengladbach. To be honest, I don't know a lot about him. I've looked up. He's big. He holds up the ball quite well. He's reasonably mobile. And as I've been saying, oh god, my chest is broke. As I've been saying, when you look at how the Potter system, particularly under Brighton, who always used to score against us? Glenn Murray. Now, was Glenn Murray the quickest? No. Was Glenn Murray, going to beat 4 men and put into the top corner? No. He was clinical when you gave him the ball. You gave him a decent chance. And also he was very good at bringing in others. And that was what Fulkrug was going to do. And I think it was set up for him, this Potter. So I could see, and there does seem to be a bit of a scattergun approach at the moment in terms of the names. But personally, I think we're more likely to see a big lad rather than necessarily someone like Iwahi from Marseille. Slightly more wiry player, potentially, than someone who's a bit more stockier. Just because I think that's the way he likes his teams to play. He had the opportunity to put Kudus up front on Tuesday, but instead he put what is mainly Paquetá, sort of the bigger physically of the two. And sometimes even Souček was pushing up there as almost like a sort of false 9. But I don't know much about this guy, but he ticks a lot of boxes for me, really. So 60%. The Russy Rumour rating gives him 6 out of 10. Let's move on. And from sort of someone towards maybe the bookend of their career to someone very much starting his career. And Holly spoke about the gentleman we're going to talk about now, or the young lad, Daniel Cummings, 18-year-old, 6'1", Scottish young lad from obviously Celtic. As in West Ham are apparently interested in him, according to Fabrizio Romano. He's caught the eye of West Ham after bagging 24 goals in 24 games for the Celtic youth team so far this season. He also faces competition from the likes of Brighton Hove Albion, while the Scottish Premier League club want to hand him a new deal. His contract actually runs out in the summer, and he's free to sign a pre-contract agreement now. Also, the likes of Brentford, Wolves, Fulham, Ipswich, Sunderland, and Burnley are all keen on securing his services. Celtic are trying to their best to time down to a new deal, but because of compensation, they're probably likely to get about 250 to 300,000 based on training compensation if he leaves. Now, we've got a couple of Scottish guys on loan at the moment on trial, and clearly that's an area we're looking at fishing in. And Daniel may be someone who comes in, not necessarily straight into the first team, but someone who comes in to these sort of the 21s and develops there. And arguably there's a clearer pathway now than there was under Julian Lopetegui in terms of we've seen Ollie Scholes, very much become a regular in the first team since, I know it's only been 2 games, but since obviously Potter's taken charge. I like him. I think he's strong, he's quick, he's someone you can't necessarily push off the ball, but there's a lot of other clubs interested in him. A lot of other clubs, and as well as Celtic wanting to keep him on their books, obviously, and arguably probably looking at that and the likes of Brighton and Wolves, Fulham. Is he going to get first team football, or is he more likely to get first team football at Celtic? Arguably, probably playing Champions League as well, and it may well be his boyhood club as well. I'm not too sure, but I'm going to give him a Lamar. He's got a 50-50 chance, really. I'm going to move away slightly from striker. We're going to come back to strikers in a bit, but I'm going to move to defenders as we are apparently, according to Florian Peltenberg, interested in the Nuremberg defender, 18-year-old defender, 6'2", Finn Jeltsch. Just say enough conviction, and people just assume you're right. But they're Sky Deutschland are reporting that West Ham are interested in the 18-year-old. He graduated from the 2nd Division German's youth system and was promoted into the first team last season. He has been a regular season, 17 appearances for Nuremberg so far, and his performances haven't gone unnoticed. West Ham hold a concrete interest. I don't know what that means. Why would you interest? So if you hold an interest to concrete, is that because it's more secure, possibly? And they are closely monitoring the German under-19 international while he's in action in Nuremberg. They've also been well informed about the conditions needed to sign the player and the plan like his for the future. So he's sort of knowing his trajectory within Nuremberg, and obviously probably in contact with his agent, family, that type of thing. Now, there's no numbers in terms of fee it would take for Finn to move to West Ham. But again, there's several other clubs in the Premier League and in the Bundesliga who are interested in him. He's likely to change clubs in the summer, in all honesty. So I don't think this is one that you'll be looking at necessarily for now. But definitely in the summer, his name will crop up again. Again, he sort of suits the MO of the type of. If I'm looking for that fourth choice centre half, which we desperately need, it's either going to be someone at the bookend of their career because they're going to come in and play third, fourth fiddle in our centre back options. They're basically competing with Mavropanos for when Todibo comes back in terms of that third place. And personally, I don't think Kalen has that yet. I would prefer Kalen to go out on loan and then to get that experience. Someone like Finn already has a number of first team appearances under his belt already. So I could see this one happening. I just think timings are slightly wrong, unfortunately, on it. But I'm going to put a 70%. He could well be a West Ham player in the summer. We'll give it like that. That's vague enough. Back to strikers and back to the other end of the age. Finn, Daniel, both in their 18s. We're going back to the other age with Andre Silva. Now, apparently, according to Blin, the German publication, it stated that the Hammers are very interested in the 29-year-old and have held intensive talks, not just talks, intensive talks with the to sign the RB Leipzig striker. Now, he he wasn't in the squad for their recent Bundesliga game and it was suggested because of his impending move. The Bundesliga side wants to get their big earner off the payroll before the 3rd of February. And it's clear that he's someone who we've had a interest in. This season hasn't been his best season. Only 8 appearances so far this season in the Bundesliga, scoring once and assisting 2. And his only goal since returning back from his Real Sociedad loan spell. He's got 26 goals in 95 appearances before he left on loan last season. And yeah, I think we played against him when we played Eintracht Frankfurt because that was one of his previous clubs. He's, he's 430. He's experienced 430 games, 145 goals. Again, almost 1 in 3. 1 in 3, yeah, almost 1 in 3 in his career. 6 foot, decent size as well. It's going to come down to money, really, in all honesty. I'm going to give it a 60%. The Russy Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating, people, it's giving it 60. If you like what we're doing, if you like this type of stuff, don't forget to give it a like. Always helps out the channel. There we go. Done my promoting bit. What should we talk about now? Let's talk about sort of more wingers, as it's been reported that West Ham are said to be eyeing up a move to sign in-form attacker Vaclav Cerny, the 27-year-old Czechia winger, 5'10", 250 career appearances. He's currently on loan at Rangers, and he's having a really good season for Rangers so far. He's bagged 12 goals and 7 assists in 32 games for the Gers so far. He's a left-footed right winger, and he's currently on loan to Rangers from Wolfsburg. According to my favourite Spanish news outlet for Jesus, it's claiming that Villarreal are also trying to sign him, although West Ham are apparently favourites to land his signature. Seems a decent player, playing well in Scotland. Obviously, we know the level of standard of football in Scottish Premier League isn't the same as the English top flight. Obviously, another Czech boy as well. We've had a good run with Czech boys, in all honesty. Do we really need him? In all honesty, I know I keep saying it as a phrase, but you got to think with the likes of Bowen coming back, Kudus, Somerville, particularly the way that Potter sets up. Is Emerson still there? I think that's one area we're probably okay in terms of the wingers. Although if reports are meant to be believed that we maybe are going to move on Luis Guilherme, there would be an opening there. I wouldn't say for me there's anyone in the 18s or the 21s who would step up in terms of wingers. So like that in terms of sort of more out and out wingers, not really. Your likes of George Earthy, he'll be back in the summer. I'm not too sure. I'm going to give it a Lamar because there's been quite a bit of news coming out about Vaclav. Now, it could be obviously agent and paper talk. We know most of this usually is. But we know we are looking at Scotland. Does seem to be an area we seem to be having a lot of interest in recently. So maybe Cerny, maybe baby. Who's next? Let's go back. Let's go back to a simpler time. a simpler time when Jack Sullivan would reveal who we're going to sign. And if you remember this man, he got the name on the back of the shirt and he never signed for us. But apparently, and I will say a big apparently, West Ham have an interest for the summer for the loan signing of Michy Batshuayi. And according to the Turkish news outlet Akzam, West Ham are very close to signing him in a surprise transfer. That's almost 5 years ago we were linked with the 31-year-old Belgian striker. You know, almost 500 games, 180, again, 1 in 3. No. He's made just one Super League start this since joining Galatasaray on a free transfer of the season. He's bagged 5 goals and 2 assists in 383 minutes of playing football this season. This one ain't gonna happen. He's turned 31 in October. And would become the 4th striker in his 30s at the London Stadium should a transfer come into fruition. But it's not going to happen, this one. 3 out of 10, 30%. Move on. We've spoken about it. Now let's move on. Let's cleanse the palate. Cleanse the palate with someone who I actually think could be a good... Well, the last 2, I think, could be 2 good signings for West Ham. I really do. The first one is Taiwo Awoniyi. Now, the Nottingham Forest Nigerian striker, someone we have been linked to before. We were obviously linked when he was at Union Berlin before he went to Forest. And since he went to Forest, it's a bit like Nicholas Füllkrug. He's been injured quite a lot. Nicholas Füllkrug wasn't... Everyone goes, he's injury prone. Go back and look at his stat. He wasn't that injury prone at all until he joined West Ham. And it was his first hamstring injury, and that was him out pretty much for a long time. And then he had obviously the mysterious sort of tendon thing when he was at traveling with Germany training during international breaks. Same as Taiwo. Taiwo hasn't had a lot of injuries. Then he's gone to Forest and he's got injured quite a bit, bless him. But according to Florian Peltenberg, and we always know who Florian Peltenberg's main source of information is, West Ham are making a serious attempt to sign him with immediate effect. So we've had concrete interest for one, intensive talks, and now a serious attempt with immediate effect. It's believed that he's scored 17 goals in 63 Premier League appearances for Nottingham Forest. Headed goals. He's scored like all round. He scored 4 headed goals. He scored 9 with his right and 4 with his left. So that's what I like. A bit everywhere. It's been it's been assumed that it would be a loan with a option, although Forest are looking to sell rather than necessarily loan for option because they have aspirations. They have Champions League aspirations, don't they, at the moment? Now, obviously, he is very much an Antonio 2.0. He's a big lad. He's muscular. He's a bruiser. He's someone who can batter people, a bit like Antonio when Antonio was in. He can be beast mode, And to be honest, I really wanted him when he was at Union Berlin because I thought he'd fit. What's better to have Antonio when he was getting tired? Another Antonio. You don't have to necessarily change your way of playing. You just have a fresh Antonio on the bench. You just replenish them. It's like a new pair of AA batteries in the drawer, ready to go straight in. I genuinely think there could be legs in this. Now, there is concern about his injury record, his recent injury record, which may well curtail that. But we do have a habit of buying players who are always injured, or even when they haven't got an injury record, like with Füllkrug, they then have an injury record when they come to West Ham. But I'm going to give him 70%. Could see this one happening. Premier League ready. There's no adjustment period. He can literally go straight in. If you signed him tomorrow, and he's fit, obviously, he could play on Saturday. Do you know what I mean? So could this man. And according to Jacob Steinberg, Rodrigo Nunez has been added to the list of strikers we are looking at in the January transfer window. Ironically, obviously, came on for the last 15 minutes, didn't he? Didn't really do anything. When obviously we played Fulham, that was it, Fulham on Tuesday night. Now, the 23-year-old Again, it would be an option, a loan with an option to buy. That option in turn would be about £30 million for a 23-year-old Premier League proven striker. I don't think that's the worst deal in the world. That's sort of the going rate for a young striker, I think, or a good young striker. 6'1", Brazilian, 20, not the most prolific, I'll be honest. But he definitely had last season had a massive purple patch, and which got a lot of people interested. I think the likes of Real Madrid were looking at him at that time. And for me, again, a similar one to Taiwo. You could come on, you could literally you could sign him and start him straight away. He's a big lad. I can't really speak, but he's got a bit of a timber on him. But I quite like that, in all honesty, because I just think it really does. It really does sort of have that difference when you've got a real, unit up front, a real target man who you can knock the ball up to, who can hold it, who can knock it on, who can bring players in. But he has got some skill. He's got some talent. Not prolific, but I'm not being funny. We've got what was that when Carlos Soler scored against Fulham? The stat was West Ham have the most different goal scorers ever in the Premier League of 175. We've had 175 different goal scorers, and part of the reason is we never have any fucking strikers to score goals, so that everyone else has to score goals. But I could see this one happening too. I'm going to go with a 60%, the Russy Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating. And that is it, my friends. That is your Russy Rumour roundup. Hope you have a great rest of the day. I'll be back a bit later on. It's the Graham Potter press conference, everybody, ahead of the Crystal Palace game. Still doing them those Thursdays. But it's going to be fascinating to see. I'm sure there's going to be questions about Bowen's time frame, as there was reports that he's being earmarked for, I think, Villa away is when potentially he could be back in, which will be in week after next, something like that. 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away. There will definitely be questions about the Kudus substitution as well, I'd suggest. By his own admission, Kudus was, by not his own admission, but by Potter's own admission, he was very much running on empty. So that's why he took him off, because he knew he had Saturday. And to be honest, he's our only fast player we've got, really, although we've got Rumours Galore at the moment. But realistically, Kudus is the only forward we've got, really, in terms of first team forward. I know we've got Danny, bless him, but in terms of someone whose pace can make a difference. And we play a Crystal Palace side who, are slightly better than when we played them earlier this season. Would that be the first double if we beat them this season? I don't know. Would it? I don't know. Obviously, they beat Leicester 2-0 away last night. But then I'd better say anyone could beat Leicester, but we didn't. So there we go. Anyway, also, David Moyes didn't start very particularly well, did it? For a 1-0 loss at home against Aston Villa, but obviously Villa are a good side. Anyway, take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay warm, stay humble. Don't forget to like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Which one of those bunch floats your boat? Which one of them floats your boat? I would say, for me, it's Taiwo or Nunez. I just think there's something about them, I think, who could, particularly the Nunez one seems a bit of a wild card, but I quite like that. I quite like that idea of having somebody who's a little bit raw. I don't know. Anyway, take care, everyone. I'll see you in a couple of hours for the Graham Potter press conference. Much love. Take care. Bye-bye.